Hello guys, this is Pierre. I'm web developer from company WebBacon. I'm the owner of the company, and today we're going to do another quick tutorial. Probably not going to be very quick, but here's the idea. Okay, so that's our empty page. The idea is right here. So we need to create something that looks like this, and we need to create this for a website which will work very similar to how an application would work. So these 4 buttons need to be mobile friendly. The only difference here is that the manage user icon and statistics will be on the right side, exactly like the top button is. So we'll need to create something that is mobile friendly. Alright, so let's get started. You might think, why don't we use a pre-built block for this? Because we tried to use a pre-built block, and I'm not going to mention which company built it, but the quality of that block was very bad. It didn't work on mobile devices. So we'll have to create our own. So what I have done already, I have installed Bootstrap. Basically I went to Bootstrap and I clicked on introduction here, and I just copied the base template here, and I pasted it into my index.php file. And I've also created a style sheet, w_style.css, and that's where I'm going to put my own styles. And I linked the style sheet in the header over here. And that should be good. That should be enough to get us started. I've also created a container, created a row, created the first column. Again, you'll see that this column spans the whole width of the screen, like this, all the way. So we'll need to give it some, actually not all the way, because it is inside the container. So we'll need to create a class, a div tag within it. So let's do that. Div class wa. I don't like long class names, so we'll keep it short. And you know what? I think I might want to wrap this whole thing into a section. And I'm actually going to call this section this. Now I do like to nest my styles. This way everything is organized and very specific. It's just a very good practice for this development work that we're doing. We do use library of scripts, so don't want my styles to interfere with other styles that I might write, and I usually like to use very similar names. Okay, let's refresh this. So that's the test.acfboot.com is what we are using right now to generate this page, and we need to have a header, we need the text here, and we need an icon. So let's create sections for that as well. Header. Actually, you know what? Let's just add actual information here. I don't want to use WA image because I'm sure I've used it somewhere else. So I'm going to type in WA_ima to be a little bit more specific. And speaking of images, I have asked my graphic designer to compile images for me with the icons, and she has their SVG format. I like to work with SVG. Going to create a folder images and going to add them here. Yeah. Why doesn't it want it to do it this way? I don't know. I guess we'll have to drag and drop. And we're going to add them to our server. And the first one is manage pages. Yeah, so we'll need to add some styles. So we have the header, we have the paragraph, and we have the image. This can be removed. Okay, so it looks like we have the structure laid out here. And we can continue now with the actual work on it. Let's have a look at the actual items, and let's look at how we can manipulate this thing. I'm actually going to take a screenshot here like this. I'm interested in just one section, so we have a div tag here. What I'm seeing here is really two sections, the left side and the right side. And this separated like this. So I think that's the structure that I'm going to go with. And it will break down on the cell phone version, and this block might jump under. That's one option. Let's see what other options we have. The other option is This is one block, and this is a second block, and the image floats on the right side inside this block over here. Now, looking at the image here, let's look at this thing. It's very small. There isn't that much text on it. So if we're looking at a small screen size, it will look just fine as it looks right now. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change layout slightly. I'm going to have a header as one div. This is going to be a second div, and an image will be a floating element inside the text div. Let's do it this way. And somebody might argue that we don't really need an additional div for an image. That is true. We could theoretically go without it. And we might just do that. So I think that looks good. So we got rid of one div tag, and we've placed an image inside another div, and we need to reflect that within our CSS here. Document, this is not applicable anymore. I'm going to just delete that. I'm going to copy this, paste it here, and inside of this there's an image. So I'm going to just target an image using a CSS class like this. Let's upload it. So theoretically we have control of every element right now. One more second, I'll need to answer a client's question. I'll be right back. Okay, let's continue. We have everything right now that we need. We can start working on it. The only thing is I'm not sure if I've uploaded the images yet. I think I did. Okay, excellent. So now we have a section over here. The next thing that we'll need to do is to style the whole thing. I'm going to actually give it some margin over here so I can work with it a little easier. And the way that I modify elements is I work with them right within the editor over here. And one more thing, I think it's good. Why am I not seeing WA_WR? Should be there. Okay, I see the problem. This should be this. Now it should load. Head. Yep, there we go. Okay, I'm going to give it some margin at the top. Let's give it 150 pixels, just so it's easier to work with it. Actually, let's do 100 pixels. Okay, that's good. Now this 100 pixels that I'm given here is only temporarily, just so it's easier to work with it. I'm going to be working with the outside element here to give it some shade and the 3D contours that we see here and the roundness to it. This is the tag that we need to start working with. So first thing that I was looking into the box shadow elements. There's a lot of examples that people use. Personally, it will take quite some time for anyone to go through the shadow options here. And quite frankly, as a business owner and a developer, I don't have time to dive into technicalities and learn every single CSS rule. So what I do usually is I go online and I find a website that has a very nice shadow to it, to element, and I just grab the CSS code from there and I reuse it, repurpose it on my website. So to add the border elements, border radius, let's say 5 pixels, maybe even more, 15 pixels, no, that's going to be too much, 10 pixels. Yeah, I think this looks good. Now we'll give it some padding of 20 pixels. More like 15, really, or 10 even. Yeah, I think 10 pixels would be good. Alright, so we have a very nice layout here. We have the outer element of our box. The next thing that we'll need to do is to start styling the internal parts of the header and the paragraph in the image. So we'll do that next. I'm going to copy this, paste it into our CSS file, and I'm going to work with the header element. Now something that bugs me is that the header element is taking up the whole width, and I don't like that. I want to make sure that the actually it does, yeah, it should take up the whole width. Okay, we'll see. I was thinking maybe the on the large screen like this, where the buttons are really long, this icon should be placed higher. Let's work on styling now. Text transform, uppercase, font size, font weight 600, 700 maybe, yep. Now the image, I'm going to work with it next. I'm going to give it a float element. Float to the right. Is floated to the right, which we have expected. But it needs to float needs to change its position. Image needs to come first before the text. And how do I know that? Why image before the text? Because when we squish the screen, you can see that image stays at the bottom. It needs to be right where the text is. So let's refresh this. See, that's how it should look. I refresh the page. That's because the image starts before the text. That's what we need. Okay, you see how we have image simply floats on top and completely disregards the fact that it's outside of the parent div tag. So we'll need to give it another div tag here. Class WA. Now this div tag is very interesting because it's going to do really nothing except to serve as a divider to make sure that our image adjusts properly to the height of the parent tag. And it will have only one attribute. Clear both. There we go. Now, no matter how you're going to squish the screen, image is never going to float under the parent tag, which has the shade around it. It will always stay inside of it, because there is another div tag right over here, right under the text element. Here, you can't really see it, but it's there, and it's pushing the height of the parent tag to adjust accordingly. Okay, so you see how the gear icon and the view, the W, is sitting way too close to each other. So we'll need to adjust that to make sure that this image does have some padding. I'm going to float it to the right, which is already floated, and then we're going to give it padding left of 5 pixels. Yeah, I think this is good. Okay. I think this is great so far. The only thing that I'm concerned about right now is the text over here. I'm going to increase the font size a little bit. That's too big. Yeah, I think this is good. 1.2 EM. So you might want to notice the fact that we have created structure first, then we started adding information into it. And that's how I find that creating websites, probably it is the fastest way to build a website this way. Now I'm going to reduce this 12 now to 6. Because on mobile devices, I have a feeling that 6 will be fine. No, it's not going to be fine. It's way too squished. So I was incorrect. It does need to be 12. and on middle size of screens it will jump to 6. Right over here is the jump point. Maybe we can push it down to something smaller. Yeah, I think the small size is even better here. Yeah, let's keep it on small. SM is the jump point. Okay. The next action item is to copy this. And what is our next element? Distribute pages. So we'll need to change this up to in case you're wondering why I'm not really explaining every single step of the way, because this tutorial is really geared for people who are earning money from web development already and who are familiar with Bootstrap, they're familiar with basic HTML and CSS, and that would like to just simply look at the way that we build things and maybe find some tips and tricks that we use as a web development company to improve their work. Actually, this coming soon doesn't need to be here. SMS. Okay, there we go. Look at this. Really cool buttons that we have created. Again, we can always change styling of the font and everything that we need if we ever want to, but the responsiveness is really cool. What I want to address here is the fact that they are stuck together. I'm going to add another Bootstrap style here, margin top. Let's see if margin top 4 will work. It might be a little bit too big. Actually, it's fine. I like how 4 works. It gives me this space over here between two elements. Okay. So last but not least, we need to just copy these two, paste them here, and as I mentioned before, these icons are going to be on the right side. It's not going to be centralized. Just need to replicate it here. Okay, so I see one issue here. See how this icon is at the bottom? Looks like this SVG element is higher than this element. This one is 52 by 41. This one is 46 by 54. So they have to be the same size. If they're not the same size, we run into issues. Now, we can address this by doing two things. We can actually specify specific height to the images. For example, I really like this height, 67, right? So let's give it some height. Height 67 pixels. Okay, see? All of our icons, they are taking up exactly they're exactly 67 right now. But this one, because it has a different aspect ratio, is bigger than all the others. And right now we see even other issues. When we squish the screen size, this one drops down, this one stays up, simply because they are different, they have different amount of text in it. You can see that manage user profile jumped the 2 lines here. On mobile devices, I mean, it's beautiful, but this has to be corrected. Technically speaking, the statistics can be kept like this, or alternatively, I'm actually going to give it some minimum height to let's say 55 pixels. Looks fairly good this way. I know we have reduced the Manage Pages icon slightly, but other icons look fairly sharp. We do not see noticeable difference in height right now. With actually there is no difference in height between the blocks, so I'm going to keep it like this. Right now, add it here, and let's reduce the screen size and see what happens. Still good, still good. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to specify one thing. I'm going to specify the actual height of the block here, and the height of it is 107. So I'm going to say that minimum height is 110 pixels. Now this is for a mobile version, and you'll see how we're going to address that in a second, because we'll also need to add desktop version items. So I know we're working on desktop, but we're doing mobile modifications, and seems backwards, but I got used to working that way. Okay, so this looks good. Here we have an issue because the buttons are different sizes. Let's have a look at the height here. The height is 166. If we modify it to 170, they still look really good on this size, even though that there is empty space on them. So I'm going to create a style here. For that I'm going to go to Bootstrap, going to go to Introduction, and I'm going to go to, where is it, CSS, I think it's called breakpoints. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to just copy this section over here, paste it here. You can see how the comments that they have there, they don't really work on a CSS file, so we need to just quickly modify them. The great thing with Dreamweaver is that you're able to modify in multiple locations at the same time. See how I have 4 cursors? It's pretty cool. Also, the 3 dots here will also break our scripts, so we're going to need to change that. Remove the extra space and click enter. Okay, there we go. Now it's properly formatted. Now we can work with it. I'm going to save that and upload. Now the logic here is that this is our mobile version, and then this is our breakpoints, and the last one is the full screen version and higher. Remember how we modified it right over here? So it was somewhere in 580 pixels, around 600 pixels. We do have a breakpoint here, 576 pixels, and we made it at 170 pixels high. So we're going to copy this, paste it here, and we'll delete this because it's already declared at the very top. And let's make it 170 pixels. Now you'll see that on mobile devices it's 110 pixels high. As soon as it hits 500, as soon as the screen hits 576 pixels, it's going to increase the height to 170 pixels. Let's have a look. We'll start with the mobile version. See how it's 150 pixels. Well, sorry, 110 pixels over here. They take up different heights, but that's okay because they are one after another. As we increase the screen size, as we hit the first breakpoint, which is right here, see how each box now looks the way that we envisioned it. At min height at 170 pixels. That's really good. We're going to keep increasing the size until we go through the next breakpoint, and it is at 770 pixels, somewhere there. There we go, 768 pixels. So we're going to copy this, I'm going to paste it here, I'm going to give it 110 pixels. Let's upload it. Let's refresh it right here. There we go. And it's going to continue this way at 110 pixels because we are not doing any modifications at this breakpoint and this breakpoint, so we'll keep it like that. Okay, so I think it's pretty much finished. We can do additional styling to it if we want to, but in general I think I'm pretty happy with the final outcome. Buttons look fairly good. There is fairly good space between them. The shade effect looks nice. I think it's finished. The last step before we hand this to our client would be to remove extra CSS code that we don't need, and that was the extra CSS code. We double check to make sure that there's no repetitions. There is no repetitions, and yeah, we're pretty much going to save it here and send files over to our client. I'll save this as well. Okay, so last thing before we go, I want to point out that we do have a library of scripts. It's called acfboot.com. It's a small community of web developers, myself included. I'm the organizer of this small community, and we create different blocks to help us design websites faster. If you expand any of the blocks, you'll see that there is HTML and CSS code that you can quickly use to assemble a website. Everything is mobile friendly. And a lot of blocks, they come with a JSON file. This JSON file is for WordPress Advanced Custom Fields integration. So you're able to copy HTML into your WordPress template, copy CSS, and then you go back to your Advanced Custom Fields, you import the JSON file, and you not only do you have this beautiful block inside your WordPress, you also have the backend administration for that block through Advanced Custom Fields. It takes about a day to program something like this, but we share codes between each other and we're able to design websites a lot faster than any other company. So if you're interested in becoming a member of our small community, let me know. Webbaker.com. Click on contact here, fill out your information. Let me know that you're interested in becoming a member. The fee for this is $5 a month right now. Minimum commitment is 1 year. By the time that you're probably watching this video, prices would probably go up because we're still in the development mode for this library. There isn't a huge number of elements here. We're just starting here. So if you're interested, let me know. I'll be happy to see you become part of our small development community. If you add a block, if you propose a block and we accept the block, you get 2 months of free subscription. So that's the deal. That's how we help each other. Okay, you have a good day. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe.